And we are live with the PHU Dynasty podcast. This time, we're going to do something a little bit different. We thought that we were going to do the team review for myself with James, Justin, and Vince here. Instead, we're just going to be doing a draft review that I'd been working on for the last week and got a little bit of help here with my good friends here at the end to get this thing off and ready to go. And basically what this is a draft review for every single draft, every pick made in every single draft from 2012, the inception of the first draft, and then all the way to 2019. And I excluded 2020 because I believe it's too soon to tell on 2020 picks. So basically, we're looking at 2012 through 2019, and I compiled all the hit rates. So we're going to see who's actually good at drafting, and we're going to see who's good at drafting what positions. And we're really just we're gonna settle a lot of scores here. I think we're gonna get to talk about some old picks, have a couple good laughs, boys. I think we're gonna have a great time. So you want to just hop right into this?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going in. All right, so we're gonna start off with everybody's favorite, Andrew Scavelli and the Toronto Battle Axes. I'm gonna make this full screen so everybody can see. So we'll take our stupid mugs off the face. And here we go. So we have the Toronto Battle Axes starting off in 2012 with Doug Martin, a Bucks favorite. Actually, one of my personal draft favorites from my first, I think it was our first ever Senior Bowl, the second one. I love Doug Martin. So I called him a hit, and I think LaMichael James is not a hit. So I don't think there's a whole lot of debate there, boys. What do you think of that draft?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Martin was a fine pick at 1-4.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally acceptable. Moving right on to 2013, we had Christine Michael in the second round, Gavin Escobar, who is arguably the Blaine Gabbert of tight ends, in my opinion. He was the worst prospect I've seen in a long time. Anthony said he sucked, so he sucks. And then Tampa Bay defense at 310. Never really condone taking defenses in the draft. Usually that doesn't happen, but I think this might actually have been the only time that happened. In my draft review, I didn't see any other ones, so that was a big 0 for 3. So 2013 for Scavelli, not a big year there.
No, that's a rough one. It's hard when you don't have a pick in the first 19 picks, but Christine Michael, I don't think ever played a full season in his entire career, which was not very long to begin with. And Gavin Escobar is just hilarious, and so is the Tampa Bay defense. So there's just, what are you going to do about those?
We were just talking about this too. The Tampa Bay defense in 2013 was dog shit. Like, they were terrible. Like, they were the worst. They might have been the worst defense in the league that year. But Scavelli just wanted to throw that in the hat. So I appreciate that. And then we got 2014 coming up. This is just not a good draft here. I mean, the thing is, Bishop Sankey at the time seemed like a great pick, and I actually remember at one point during this draft, we were like, "Oh my God, Bishop Sankey at 1.5, what a steal!" Scavelli does it again. The value's there, and we're like, I truly believed that pick would work out, and that was a studded year for draft people there. I mean, look. I think that was the year with Sammy Watkins. Obviously, at 1-1, that didn't really work out. But Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, tons of good prospects that year. And
Cody Lattimore, let me hit you with a quick fact on him. He was a second-round pick for the Broncos, and they had Peyton Manning, if you remember. So that was kind of like that's
was
even
that
really
chalky?
Considered. That's a great value in my opinion to get Cody Lattimore that late at 2-9.
Made sense at the time.
Yeah, it made sense at the time. I mean, both those picks are really good, solid picks that just didn't work out. It kind of shows how tough drafting can be.
It's what's funny. I just did the math on that. Bishop Sankey and Cody Lattimore had a combined 301 touches in their career.
That's a great stat.
Derrick Henry calls that a slow Tuesday.
It's just not what you're looking for.
That's just insane. I mean, that's crazy. 301 combined touches. Yeah, that's not a great draft. We're another 0 for 2 in a row there for Scavelli, 2013, 2014. Looks like he had a couple more picks here in 2015, hit on 2 of them. So this was interesting because we called Jay Ajayi a hit, and we called Tyler Lockett a hit, I believe. So we did not give a hit to Duke Johnson and Jameis. Obviously, Jameis, the draft capital was a little bit high, and he hasn't panned out how we thought he was. And then Duke has kind of just been a serviceable guy, not so much. I just wouldn't call him a hit. He's just always kind of been in the background. So
Yeah.
two out of 4 for 2015. Any thoughts on that draft class, boys?
Yeah, Duke is one of those, like you said, serviceable is a good word for it. He was never going to be the starter, really. I think he had 100 carries once, and you know what you're getting from Duke Johnson. He's going to snag some targets. He's going to get, what's it going to be, 3-4 targets a game, and a couple carries a game, and that's just what it is. But I
shitty
think
Geo.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that Jay Ajayi and Tyler Lockett at 210 and 3.7 are, great value picks, honestly.
I mean, 3.7, Tyler Lockett might be one of the best picks in all of the third round that we've ever had. So you gotta like that. And then Ajayi, if you can get a starting running back, even if it's a couple of years like he was, I mean, starting running back at the back of the second round is pretty awesome.
At 210, yeah, I can't even get a starting running back in the first round.
I can't get a starting running back at all in the draft unless I trade up to like 1 or 2. Like, I fucking suck. You'll see that later. So 2016, we'll move on. Obviously, 110, Derrick Henry, arguably one of the best draft picks of all time in our league. That's just stupid value. Literally a top 5 running back. I didn't really do too much research on that draft as a whole, but like, I'd love to see 1 through 9 for that draft, because that's got to be like, how did you not take Derrick Henry over some of these guys? But 1 for 2 there. DeAndre Washington, didn't call him a hit, even though he's still kind of poking around. 2017, Jamal Williams and Jeremy McNichols, great Bucks favorite there. 5th round draft pick out of Boise State, I want to say. Jamal Williams was the hit. We gave him a hit for this one because, I mean, you guys
he's still in the league too.
Yeah, he's still in the league. He was productive when he had the touches. He got a decent little contract here with the Lions. I think that's a hit because you can play him. I mean, last year you could even play him when Aaron Jones was playing, just as kind of like a vulture option. I mean, he's not. I mean, as a 3rd round pick, I mean, how much can you really expect? So
I would say that like a good example between the difference between a hit and a miss in our like little calculations is like Duke Johnson is like, and Jamal Williams are 2 players that are like right up against the cusp, but like Jamal Williams is still going on, and I would say was probably better with Green Bay than Duke was with Cleveland. And sure, Duke's time with Cleveland and Houston was not good, whereas Jamal's time with the Lions is now unwritten. And I think that's the kind of thin line between a hit and a miss that we're kind of getting at with these analysis.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think you'll see as we go on with a lot of these. There's some that are going to be debatable, but it's kind of just what we ended up with. So moving on to 2018, big year for Scavelli. Had 5 picks, the most picks he's ever had. Gets Darius Geis at 1-3. I think just about everybody would have jumped in on Darius Geis at 1-3 in that year.
I would have loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't.
I mean, I traded for Darius Geis because I believed in it so much. So, like phenomenal value there. I mean, when you consider everything. And then you get Nick Chubb at 1-9. I mean, Jesus Christ, help me. That also was the year, I believe, that was just a strong, it looked like a strong running back year. You had Darius Geis, you had Leonard Fournette, you had Kerryon Johnson, Nick Chubb. I mean, there was backs in that draft. So to get Nick Chubb at 1-9 is pretty amazing. Then everybody's favorite, Kaelin Bellage at 2-3. He's a bust. No way to put it. Nyheim Hines, though, he was another cusp player for us. We did not give him the designation of a hit, but he's definitely a serviceable player. So that's not bad. And he's still on Scavelli's team today.
No, we did give him a hit.
Did we give him a hit?
Yeah, we didn't give Geis a hit.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking about Mayfield. We gave Mayfield a hit too. Correct. So 3 out of 5. So it was Hines, Mayfield, and Chubb. So we have 3 hits.
I think, Hines, the more I think about it there at 3-3 is actually pretty good value. I think I'm looking at his stats now too, he's not dissimilar from Duke Johnson, honestly. He's got a kind of a similar role even. He gets, same number, maybe more targets. He's getting the same types of carries on the year. He's going to carve out a role, wherever he goes in that kind of same Duke Johnson fashion. So it's so early that I think there could be more to it. Like, obviously we know what we have with Duke Johnson at 2.7, and we didn't give that a hit. I think Nyheim Hines is similar, but it's still so early, and I think
he's been in the league 3 more years too. So
we can even call it a makeup call if you guys like. With we had to give him the L on Duke Johnson, but then we were a little bit nicer with Jamal Williams and Nyheim Hines. So either way, call it what you want. Call it Duke a hit, call Hines a hit. I think between the two of them, he got 2 serviceable people, despite the fact that he got rid of one of them either way. So 3 out of 5 is fair for 2018, 2019. Daryl Henderson kind of already has lost his job, and if you lose your job in 2 years, you got to go. That's a miss.
Yep.
In 2020, he farmed Alex's team, which is always a good strategy. A lot of people do that. It's real popular these days because he's not trying to win. He's in the league for the memes. And that was a really good move because it really helped Scavelli to keep him the contender he is today. I think that was the Gurley trade, those picks. So.
Yeah, so no picks in 2020. So let's go to the fun part, which is the overall hit rate. So Scavelli's hit on 8 out of 21 of his picks for a 38% average on his picks, and he's 1 for 2 at quarterback, batting 500 there. Really good numbers at running back. 53% hit at running back is pretty hard to do. You'll see as we go forward with some of these, there's not going to be many that are better than that, if at all. I want to say that's a typo at receiver, 1 out of 2, because there's got to be more than 2 receivers taken, I feel like.
No, Eric, I think
he's literally taken 2 receivers. Is that really
Cody Lattimore and Tyler Lockett?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Terrible.
When I was going through the numbers before we were starting, I was like, that can't be right. And then I went back and I was like, no, it is right, because he's totally got 15 running backs out of 21 picks in 8 years. It's ridiculous.
He's literally drafted pretty much predominantly running backs. It's unbelievable. I didn't even notice that until I looked at it just now. So that's hilarious.
Amazing.
Then to have that success at running back too. That's the thing.
I was going to say, we're talking about 8 out of 21 hit rate, and 8 out of those.
I mean, to your point, we can put a bow on this pretty quick because we do got to move through a few teams. His graphic has 4 players showing at the bottom. 3 of those 4 were not drafted by him. So there you go.
For the record, I think Scavelli's hit rate should be higher because he hit on a receiver and a quarterback in addition to the 8 running backs. So unless it's a typo, it should be 10 out of 21, right?
I mean, isn't that the percentage?
Maybe I just
once you add in the. Well, I mean, nah.
Let's do some quick math here.
I mean, did we average?
Divided by 21 is 38. Yeah, I know he's the math guy. This is not my thing. It's 38%. So let's say we add the extra 2 hits in if there is. He's batting 47%.
Well, hang on. Who's the second quarterback? Isn't it?
He took Baker Mayfield and Jameis Winston.
Good. Yes, that's correct.
And then the tight ends, he didn't have anybody hit because he drafted. Who's his tight end? Gavin Escobar, the great Gavin Escobar. So
it's 10 out of 21. So it's 47.
So 10 out of 20. It's 47%.
Yeah.
Very good.
So keep that in mind for later because there's a cumulative overall draft rankings for percentage hit. So we'll keep that in mind for later. So not too bad. Scavelli definitely killing the running back game. I'll say that. I think that's what I'm getting out of this. Moving on to the Louisiana Hurricanes, everybody's favorite.
God, Justin, close your ears.
Oh, no.
All right, so 2013, started off with a bang. Very nice, Le'Veon Bell, great pick. Then we quickly declined. I actually love Jonathan Franklin that year. I think that was also the year where they drafted Eddie Lacy and Jonathan Franklin. So, you didn't know what was going to happen, and people really like Jonathan Franklin too. So, I mean, it just didn't work out, but 2.1 there, and then Aaron Dobson, Jesus Christ, help us. Patriots can't draft wide receivers.
It's so true.
So 1 for 3, hitting 33% there for that year. And then we go to the next season, and you just truly hate to see Kevin White. I mean, it didn't quite work out. A lot of injuries.
It's not my fault.
It's not. I mean, I can't imagine we go back in time and he doesn't end up at least 1.5 just because he was just a freak of nature athletically. He ran like a 4.3.
I got to call shenanigans on Tevin Coleman, though. He had finishes in standard league 16, 21, 17, and 32. We gotta change that to a hit.
Okay. I'll give you that.
We're
That's
at
fair.
50% here.
I think that was a little bit of recency bias on my end. So,
he was a dick to you in the Falcons camp, and you let that seep into your.
I think that may have had something to do with that because I was not a fan.
He's had solid years since 2016, with the exception of this year, obviously, and he's still in the league for now. So I think it's fair to call that one a hit, but I don't think it's a great.
Oh, I'm going to drag you for the rest of these, but that one we can give it a hit.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot more of these debatable ones, so I'd like hearing your thoughts on these guys. So
I think it's about keeping in perspective about where they finished in the season, and I think that's kind of a good barometer. Like if you were a top 30 player multiple times, that's kind of good enough to at least call you a hit. And everything's about where you were drafted as well. So Tevin Coleman having 4 top 30 seasons as a second round pick. Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's fine.
I mean, it certainly could be worse. And if we're gonna call, somebody like a Naheem Hines potentially a hit, then maybe we should probably call Tevin Coleman a hit as well. So
yeah.
All right, let's go to 2016 where there's a nice pick right at the top there. Zeke Elliot. I mean, clearly he's been one of the better running backs in the league for the last 5 years. So, I mean, down year last year, but I'm thinking he'll bounce back. But he's definitely a hit for sure. CJ Procise was an Eric favorite, just didn't quite work out for Justin. And then Pharaoh Cooper. We did a little bit of I personally, as I was doing this, I did a little bit of a case study on Justin's picks, and it seems like he has the tendency to take players that have cool names once he gets to the third round. So Pharaoh Cooper is one of many you'll see.
It's not a tendency; it's actually highly intentional. You got to once you get
at
to
least you're committing to it.
Once you get to the third or fourth round, there's a comparative analysis that needs to be done between name value and player value, and so it's the most talent I can get with the coolest name at that point.
Hair also matters if you really want to go into some tie-breaking factors.
That is true. I would have loved to have Taquan Underwood.
Yeah, I mean, from hair alone, that throw was just elite. I mean, Taquan. Anytime we reference Taquan Underwood, I'm just happy. So, anywho, moving on. So Pharaoh Cooper, not a hit there. 1 out of 3 for that year. Moving on to Corey Davis at 1.4.
It gets spicy.
It gets a little spicy there. I still gave him a hit, I think, because he definitely turned it on last year. I mean, up until that point, he was a huge bust, but he got paid. He looked good last year.
And his future isn't unwritten. I mean, I meant the whole draft is spicy. This is just a pretty good draft overall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Juju at 1.9 is awesome. And obviously Godwin.
Gets me hot and bothered.
I got big unlucky with Foreman there because he, died.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
Actually, now I think about it, this is a complete microcosm of Justin's entire organization. It's just so many fucking injuries and just shit happening. It's just something happens all the time to this organization. And I can't wait for the year that it just all falls in place and I can just wear my Hurricanes jersey on a podcast. I'm going to get a yellow fucking Hurricanes jersey. I've already made up my mind.
They're like the inverse Chargers colors. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of it's almost like a old school Rams color scheme here. Light blue, yeah, powder blue Chargers. 3 out of 4 on that one if you count Corey Davis, which I have in this. So
I did.
I like that. Great year, followed up by a not so great year.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, Rashad Penny at 1.4, not great. I guess there's still time for him to pan out, but it's wearing thin. We'll put it that way.
Chris Carson tells me there's still time.
It's a miss. It's a miss. Yeah, Chris Carson.
Yeah, it's definitely a miss. It's just a matter of I still want to believe in Rashad Penny because I really liked him coming out.
I remember how happy you were with that too, Eric.
Yeah, I'm wrong all the time. People have this misconception that I know anything about the draft, and that's just completely a lie. I miss people every fucking year. Marcus Wheaton. Michael Gallup at 2.4. He's the lone hit in this draft for me. I think Michael Gallup is serviceable. I think honestly, after this year, Michael Gallup ends up leaving the Cowboys probably with all the receivers they have. I mean, he could be a nice little fit somewhere else, I think, and be a quality player.
He's a hit either way. He's already had some quality seasons at, I think Justin call that a hit. So
he's been good. And then as I mentioned earlier, here's where a talent versus name comes in. Equanimeous St. Brown. I literally couldn't even fit his name on this list. So it's EQ. And then Dalton Schultz. I was kind of obviously
I think Dalton Schultz is a questionable one.
I thought it was close. I thought it was
What?
close.
Because I think
played well last year.
I think you're making the mistake that I made because I gave up on him too soon. He's not on the roster anymore, and the Hurricanes regret it deeply because they're not deep at tight end. But he had like 100 targets this year and 60 some odd catches and a handful of touchdowns, and he's still a young player.
Yeah, no, we're not calling him a hit. His peak is 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. I can't call that a hit, boys.
So you're saying that this year is his peak for his career?
No, I'm saying that has been his peak. And like, we're not gonna call someone a hit based on potential. Like, to call him a hit.
So will this be his 4th year in the league now?
Yeah,
this is going to be his 4th year. We're talking about someone who's taken in the middle of the 4th round.
I understand that, but like, it still is like he's never been startable. How can we call someone who's never been startable a hit? Like,
he's not a guy. I think I just wouldn't classify him as a hit. I mean, he got beat out by Blake Jarwin. I mean, if Jarwin doesn't get hurt this year, he's literally not even relevant, probably. I mean, he looked good, though, last year. Like, I actually thought he played pretty nicely. So, I think if he had this year and then he played well, like, next year, I'd be more willing to, consider him in the hit category.
If he has another couple good years strung together, it could be revisited in the 2024 podcast or the 2025 podcast when Alex will give another State of the Union address about how he's ready to compete and about how, like, Henry Ruggs was just, that was 3 busts ago. We're done talking about him. Now we're talking about so-and-so, whatever poor high school kid is going to get drafted to Alex's team in 2025.
Couldn't agree more. All right, well, we'll just roll right along here into a great draft. We got Josh Jacobs right at the top. I mean, fell into lap a little bit with the Harry incident.
Oh, yeah.
But we love that. And then Hawkinson at 2-2. I mean, he's played very well so far at the start of his career. I loved him coming out. He's a hit for sure. And then Deontay Johnson at 3-2. Great value. Excellent value. He was a guy that I was not high on whatsoever coming out of the draft, and I was just wrong. So kudos to you, Justin, for making that pickup. And then we shouldn't even talk about what happened with Dwayne Haskins. Literally didn't even make it a year with the Redskins, and that didn't work out. So
yeah, I am happy with the Deontay Johnson pick. That was one where I was.
That's a quality ass pick.
Yeah, I was just counting the number of vowels in that guy's name and seeing it was round 3. And just had to roll.
That's another one I was gonna say. Like, I'm pretty sure you only picked him because you just like the way he spelled Deontay.
It's just a unique guy.
I mean, that's definitively your best 3rd round pick because you don't seem to have too many of those. But I mean, I would argue that's your best non-1st round pick, maybe with the exception of Godwin, actually. Godwin's the best non-1st round pick, but he's definitely probably your 2nd one because honestly, your 2nd and 3rds have not been a lot of hits.
Well,
let's see.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of other 3rd round hits.
My only other 3rd round picks there are Pharaoh Cooper and Equinemius St. Brown. So he's one of 3.
Well, I mentioned that. So I said you didn't have a lot of 3rds, and then
now that I was just kind of doing
Godwin and Coleman.
Doing a quick look at the whole thing here. I mean, if you look at this, I don't think you've traded up at any point, but you've had a top 4 pick, it looks like, in every single draft.
Why would I trade up when I'm always in the top half of the draft?
Well, I was like, I was making sure that you didn't trade up for one of these because that would discredit my point. Sure. But I think, like even last year with the trade down, I think you're at 3, right? 3 or 4 last year. Pretty sure 3. Anywho, just top 5 every single year. So I think this is the year that the Hurricanes will go into the 2022 draft with like a top or a bottom 5 pick. How about that in the 1st round? I believe this year.
He's going to put in the Dynabook, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm ready. I'll get my PayPal, whatever you want. I'll make it happen. Okay, so that's, and then we have 2020. Burrow looked really solid before he got hurt. Van Jefferson really didn't do a whole lot. Maybe that changes this year with Matt Stafford coming in. Josh Kelly had like 2 games of absolute like promise, and then Anthony Lynn just fucking ripped the rug out from under him and started playing Justin Jackson and Kaelin Bellage instead.
He's got a long way back.
I don't know if he'll ever make it back, but
yeah,
it was a 3rd round pick, so you can't hate it too much. And then, here's just a classic Justin pick. I should have known this one was going to happen anyway with the Quintez brothers Cephas pick. I mean, how could you argue with that? And that actually looks like a great pick right now because he played a lot last year.
Quintez Cephas is a better pick than Van Jefferson and Josh Kelly at this point.
Yeah, he played really well last year. As of right now, he's a starter because they have no other options. at receiver. So I mean, it looks good. Looks good to me.
Yeah.
So let's go to the hit rate. So if we're adding in Tevin Coleman, which we are, Justin's at 50%, 10 for 20. So that's pretty sweet. Looking really good. No hits at quarterback yet, but Joe Burrow is coming, so I think that'll probably end up being a hit. And then for receivers, you got 5 out of 9, 62%. That's a pretty high rate there. I think Justin's done a really good job of finding receivers after day one, specifically Deontay Johnson and Chris Godwin, looking really good there. And the running backs, 4 out of 7.
4 out of 8. So
or 4 out of 8. So yeah, 50% there. And then he's half on tight end. So this is, Justin's at 50%. That's going to be at the top, or probably will be at the top of the rankings for drafting. So,
but he's also been drafting in the top half of the league.
That's true. Something to mention.
It's a lot easier when you always have a top 4 pick.
Yeah, let's do a quick look at these first round picks real quick. So you got Le'Veon.
By the way, let me make something clear. 2017, 1-4 was actually James's pick. Justin, I believe, was part of the Le'Veon Bell trade with Michael Thomas. That was the year that Justin actually went to the championship game and lost to our host Eric. And that is why Justin has a kind of a combo of 1-4, 2-4, 1-9, and 2-9. So it's like, there was some autism in the room with a comment. So that's why it's hard to tell which pick is which there. But Justin had 1-9 and 2-9 there. And those were James's 1-4 and 2-4.
Gotcha. Let's see here. We got another Alex Morales comment that I missed from earlier. Justin, did you trade for Monty Ball? Did that happen?
He did with Alex.
Oh, no.
That is
you also
true.
traded for Noshawn Moreno.
Noshawn Moreno. I love those Denver running backs. I cannot get enough of them.
Can't get enough of them.
All right.
They're coming in. They have great lungs. They have great lungs.
Yeah, we're knocking him for having a top 4 pick. It's unacceptable to have a top 4 pick. Like I said, that'll be, it's taken into consideration. He's hoping to get off the schneid this year.
Yeah, the hit rate probably got bumped up, with the Le'Veon Bell and Zeke Elliot, Josh Jacobs, those kind of guys. But that's okay because I love the Hurricanes.
But then he had some landmines with Kevin White that any one of us would have taken.
Was it every other year? Hold on, let's look at this. No, it's kind of close though. So what does the pattern say for this year? You got 2 shots this year. I believe in Justin. I think he's going to pull it off. So anyway, 50% on the hit rate. That's going to be pretty much near the top of the league, but you'll see that later. So let's go to the Swallows now.
Oh,
everybody's favorite Swallows here.
Oh,
so
2012 is tough.
2012 is tough. And Nick Toon, though, is quite literally, that might be a top 5 name ever for me personally.
Oh, yeah.
Ladarius Green, I love that motherfucker. I loved Ladarius Green coming out. Just did not hit. He was like literally like a Kyle Pitts style player. Like he's kind of like the same like style guy, very athletic. He just played at San Diego State, so there's no fucking chance that he was gonna hit. I don't know why I ever thought I was gonna hit, but anywho, and then Justin Blackman literally he just dumped. He didn't do shit. So bad 2012, but that was our first draft and we'll let it slide.
Yeah,
so.
Justin Blackman was a landmine too, because at 1-6, that's phenomenal value.
Yeah, people thought at that point that was like, holy shit, what a great pick.
But that's how it happens sometimes.
Did he get drafted by the Jaguars?
Yes.
Okay, Jesus Christ, it's been that long. I forgot what team he got drafted by. Crazy. 2013, much better first round pick. Eddie Lacy had I'd say like 4 good years, right? 4 really good years.
At least got that full contract.
Then he got fat.
Fat Eddie.
Then he got big. I remember that Fat Eddie photo from training camp, and he looked like a bus just trying to catch a pass. It was crazy. Josh Boyce, another Patriots failed receiver. You truly hate to see those.
You hate to see it.
Quentin Patton, though. I loved Quentin Patton to the 49ers. Didn't work out. Hate to see it. So we're 1 for 3 for that year. Now we're moving on to 2014. Couple of hits here. Devonta Freeman had a really nice little career. Obviously he's fallen off lately, but was really good with the Falcons. So you got a second contract from the Falcons, so that's definitely a hit. And then James White has had a phenomenal career, being kind of that third down scat back for Tom Brady for a long time, and he's looking good. So I think that's a great third round pick. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find better third round picks than that. So we can move on to 2015. Not a good year. Rashad, I wasn't a big fan of him coming out, but I did like the value at 1.8 because
he was my neighbor. I had to take him. My
think
neighbor.
I think when you're looking at like the back end of the first two guys, just in general, is like, all right, your top guys are going to be gone. What are you looking for at 1A? You're probably looking for like upside. You're trying to find guys that have that kind of like big ceiling, even though there might be a pretty low floor. And Brashad is a perfect example of that.
And if he's your neighbor, you kind of have to draft him.
I mean,
It's my neighbor.
Bumps him up
if
on
he
your
was your
big board a
neighbor,
little bit.
I think that's a minimum of a 2-spot jump for me. So understood.
I
And
didn't have
then-
a second that year, so it's like I had to get him.
I mean, James White, hell, you were in math class. He loved you. You had to take him. Devin Smith, Jets. I believe that was the same year, if not the year or before Christian Hackenberg. So that was just deemed to fail the whole time.
Dead on arrival.
You just hate to see that. And then for 2016, this was an interesting one. I'd like to get your thoughts on Sterling Shepard. I gave him a hit, and I'm not sold myself on that one, but he's been solid. I think he's deserving of a hit. I mean, he hasn't been quite what they thought he was going to be, and even for 1.7, it probably might be a little too much. But just what do you think about him?
I have to say that if we even considered giving Corey Davis a hit at 1.4 the year prior or the year after, we have to give Sterling Shepard a hit.
Yeah, I mean, Shepard's been in the league, 5 years now. I don't think he's finished in the top 30. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I have him on my team, and I just never start him. I just never find a reason to start him. So,
Yeah, but you're a really good team too, though.
well, I mean,
Alex, he'd be his wide receiver 3 or 2 every week.
So yeah, I mean, I gave him a hit. So if you can think about that, Roberto Aguayo, total meme pick, understandable. And then Austin Hooper has been a hit for sure for the 3rd round. He got a big contract there from the Browns and had a couple really good years with the Falcons, even though I'm not a big fan of him personally. Moving on, 2017, Zay Jones. That's a tough one. One of
the most productive college receivers ever. But
literally, I mean, you can't trust those East Carolina guys. So I don't know what to say, except for Chris Johnson. That's not true. CJ2K, East Carolina Pirate. And then James Conner. Thank God you got James Conner, because honestly, if you flip these 2 picks, it looks phenomenal. So it's so crazy. Yeah, James Conner was a guy I loved coming out, and I think at a couple different times I tried to trade for him with you, but yeah, he was a good pick, 3-1.
That's a great pick at 3-1. What are you going to do about it?
I would say he had 3 good years, right, of quality production. I mean, I think the first year he was stuck behind Le'Veon, and then the second year they kind of like weaned him in a little, and then 3, 4, and 5 he was pretty much the bell cow.
No, he had I think it was that 3rd year he had a really good year, and then I think it was last year where he started out, and then the year up in between where he was shit.
He got in a little sooner. The first year he was behind Le'Veon in 2017, and 2018 was the year that he became the feature guy, and he had 10, 12 touchdowns. And then 2009 was the slump, and then this year there was somewhat of a return to form, but still not what we wanted because he was hurt.
2019, yeah, you said 2009. James Conner he was a young man then. Yeah, but still a nice hit in 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, can't be too upset about that at all. That's a great pick. Then 2018, I mean, Ronald Jones. Given the draft capital, it's tough to call it a hit, but he's still a hit. I mean, he's definitely had good production. I mean, he's been fine. He's just been stuck in a really weird position for his entire Bucs career so far. I'd still give it a hit, just based on the fact that he's a talented young running back, still getting touches. It's never really been a complete bust, so I'm okay with that. And then I gave a miss to Christian Kirk personally. I don't think he's had over.
He's a miss until he proves otherwise. I would agree.
Yeah, he's been pretty much steady Eddie wide receiver 3 for the Cardinals there. So I want to see him do something more before I give him a hit. And then Chark is a definite hit at 3-2. A little bit down last year, but I mean, who the fuck wasn't down on that team except for James Robinson? This could be a huge one for you, Vince. Like DJ Chark pairing up with T-Law now. I mean, that could reap huge benefits. So I'm really excited for DJ Chark next year.
This is a contract year for him too. So this is kind of those years that those guys throw it together. It's sink or swim. So I'm definitely really excited for him this year. I think he has really big upside. Being 6'4", kind of had a year off. The whole team.
People forget he ran a 4.3 at the combine too. He's a freak.
He really is. He's what you want in wide receiver one. So one of my it's kind of when my draft started to kind of turn around. As you could see, I kind of started to the story of my team was I hit rock bottom kind of around that 2017 from just not getting just non-productive guys or late round guys. Some guys like Eddie Lacy and Devonta Freeman who were hits then started to flame out by 2017. And I kind of, had to turn it around. As you can see, I started picking a lot earlier in 2018, 19, and 20. And kind of had to get it together. So, yeah, and then Darnold, was a fourth-round miss, but not the worst thing in the world. I did look, though, and Baker Mayfield went directly after him. So on that alone, we got to call that a miss. That's an L.
That's tough. Yeah, and I was actually, while you were talking there, I was just looking at the little pictures on the bottom right. So the bottom right, those aren't guys you drafted. Those are just the top 4 players at each, or the top guys at each position on your team. So I just threw it just for shits and giggles, because before I wasn't even considering doing this review. I was kind of just doing a team overview type of thing, but just for your shits and gigs. So you got some Darren Waller there at the end. You got a little bit of Aaron Rodgers there as well. So just to look at. Then
it's really fun. We could play Who's That Pokemon with Alex's team.
It's actually exciting when it gets.
You won't know who it is.
It's going to be very exciting. Then 2019, you got Miles Sanders, big hit there. I mean, I think last year was just a rough year for the Eagles. So I want to see what he does again, but I really like his talent, so he's definitely a hit. Deebo Samuel has looked awesome too when he's healthy. So I'm going to give that one a hit too. I'd like to see him stay healthy for an entire year. I don't. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Too. Yeah. And great guy to have on your roster with Shanahan, and then Scary Terry is a massive hit. I mean, that was one I will just eat my crow. I thought he was going to be shit in the NFL, and he was not. So great pick there. Obvious hit. And then Kahali Waring hasn't done shit, so he's going to be a miss, but he's a 4-4. So you just got to take your shots. 3 out of 4. And then 2020, we're not counting that one, obviously, but what a draft. I mean, it looks great right now. I mean, Akers, awesome first year. He's going to be even better next year, I anticipate. Michael Pittman, although not on your team anymore via trade, still has a good upside for next year. And then Chase Claypool had a dominant, one of the better rookie years you can possibly ask for. In a crowded room, he still got his touches. So that means how much that shows how much he means to the Steelers. So great little draft there. DJ Dallas too. Just based on name alone, how could you argue?
I think my last 3 years really kind of, my team's kind of on the upswing with those hits there. Those are kind of my current core right now, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that draft is going to go down as one of the better ones. And just moving forward to the hit rates, we're counting all these up. We got 10 out of 23 for a 43%. That's going to be at the top half of the league once we get to it later. 4 out of 12 on receivers, but look at the running back hits. 5 out of 6 on running back hits.
Wow.
That's pretty damn good. I when you see mine, you're going to be like, holy fuck, Eric's bad at running back drafting, because 5 out of 6 is beautiful.
Alex, if we followed Alex's comment of should have only added guys that have made the top 10 consistently at their position, everybody would be in the single percentiles and hits.
Yeah,
that's just not how you fill out a team. And if you are planning to fill out your current roster with that way, you're chasing the Magic Dragon. You will never do it. You're never going to fill out a roster of all top 10 players. That's fool's gold. It isn't happening. It's realistic that you're going to have players that are not sexy to start, but you just need points. It's just the way it is.
It's Hall of Fame consideration. Top 10
it's like basically what players are fantasy Hall of Famers at that point, because it's hard to pick these as it is. But literally, I tried to make this as comparable to how the NFL might view their pick rates. A good pick in the NFL could be I think first round is 40% roughly of hits is great in the NFL. So that's kind of what I was looking for in this. So I was like, what's 40% is actually a great number. If you draft somewhere between 40 and above, you're doing well, in my opinion. So that's kind of just the thought process on this. But yeah, looks really good for Vince at running back. Keep taking running backs, apparently. That's what I'm seeing. So that's what I would do. We're going to go to everybody's favorite Kentucky Elk, the Dustin Gilchrist ran organization. He was a little bit of a late addition into the league, so he starts in 2015. So his numbers are going to be 20 total picks. So let's start off with 2015. Devontae Parker, Amir Abdullah, and Marcus Mariota. I gave a hit to Devonta. I think he started off pretty damn sluggish to his career, but he looked great before he got his contract year, and then last year he was pretty solid. So I think he's a viable, he's definitely a flex player, I think, at this point in his career. So I'd give that a good hit. Would you say so, Dolphins
Agreed.
fan?
I totally agree. I definitely think he's still startable to this day. So that's his first pick he made technically, and he's still startable. That's a hit.
Yeah, 6 years later.
I'm thinking of this in the same vein as we were talking about Corey Davis and Sterling Shepard, but I think he's even more startable today than those guys are, frankly.
Oh, for sure.
So,
I would much rather have Devontae Parker in my starting roster than Sterling Shepard. No question. Great point. It's hard to believe that Devontae Parker was drafted 6 years ago, dude. Like that blows my fucking mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember, I was like, oh, man, he's a great prospect. I was really looking forward to him. Crazy. Anyway, moving on to 2016. Look at this shit. Jesus Christ. Laquan Treadwell at 1-2.
Another trap, though. That's a pick that someone was going to make in the top 4. I don't blame Dustin at all for taking. I don't think any of you do, of course. No one blames him. I think we all would have made that similar pick. The Vikings were just as shocked as we were that this happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think they took him at 14 overall. And when any sort of offensive player goes, skill player goes in the top 15 picks, he's going to be a top 5 pick in our league almost every time, just based on draft capital alone. So that's definitely not something I would knock Dustin for at all. So moving on to Devontae Booker, not a hit there. Hunter Henry is a nice pick in the 3rd round, though. And obviously him going to the Patriots isn't great, but
he's still relevant.
Like it. He's definitely relevant and looked good for a majority of his career with the San Diego Chargers. So awesome pick there. 2017, Mike Williams. This is a tough one. This is a tough class because I gave Mike Williams a hit. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. I feel like it's close.
I feel like it's close.
Because if Mike Williams, I gave Sterling Shepard a hit. I gave Corey Davis a hit. I feel like he's in that same general vicinity. So while you guys are looking into that, I'll talk about John Ross being a bust. David Njoku, I counted as a bust as well. He didn't live up to the hype. Kamara, huge hit at 2.5. Maybe the best 2nd round pick ever in our draft.
Right up there with Michael Thomas.
Yeah, those two for sure, both Saints players. And then Carlos Henderson was just a long shot, so that wasn't a hit either. So 2 for 5 if you count the Mike Williams, which I do. So yeah. Any thoughts on the Mike Williams?
It's iffy. I mean, I'd say it feels like it's in that Sterling Shepard gray area, because we're gonna kind of giving everyone a little bit of leeway on a receiver that was the right pick at the time and then just happened to be a iffy pick. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we all would have taken Mike Williams in that top half of that draft. And
once again, high draft capital guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So him kind of panning out to be the player he is, who's still will he, won't they? I don't want to call again, this could be revisited as a miss in 3 years, but for right now, it's still a hit. John Ross is a miss. The $75 man is a miss.
Yeah, we know that for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also just as a quick comparative look, where we're using someone like Corey Davis keeps coming up as a benchmark for this mid, 1st round pick receiver situation. Corey Davis has 60 more receptions, 300 more yards, 6 fewer touchdowns. That's arguably pretty similar production there. And I agree with Vince that's just, if he's still in the game now and they're still producing and you can still start him and it's still a, viable player for the next, foreseeable future, you can't call it a miss, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was getting at when I was making these up in my head is can I put this guy in my flex and be happy with that?
Could he start for Alex now? Yeah. Okay, then.
Well, that's tough because there's so many players that could start for Alex.
Okay, that's true.
But yeah, I'm calling it a hit. I think
starter for Alex right now, RB2.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and move on to 2018. Right? I don't want to shit on Alex too much till we get because we're gonna have plenty of time for that. 2018,
I shouldn't.
2018, we got Calvin Ridley at the top. I wasn't a big fan of Calvin Ridley coming out. Wrong on that one. So great pick, Dustin. James Washington, a personal favorite of mine, did not hit. Anthony Miller did not hit. Antonio Callaway did not hit, and John Kelly also did not hit. So that was a tough draft for Justin outside of Ridley, but Ridley is a nice little addition.
Still producing to this day, at least, so that is nice.
Yeah, he's killing it. I mean, he's been phenomenal the last 2 years. This 2019 was an interesting one up until this past year because David Montgomery was looking like a big fat bust until last year. He really picked it up down the stretch, so I gave him the hit for that one. I also gave him a hit for Kyler, obviously, but the tough one for me to do was Damien Williams, I think, out of this group.
That is not a hit, sir. Yeah, I was going to say, if we're taking Duke down, we cannot give Damien Harris a hit. Now, I almost want to say he's in the too early to tell pool.
He kind of is, yeah.
I feel that way.
Hold on. I'll bet you we may be able to tell by this Thursday if they take another running back. If they take a running back in the second,
That's a good point.
I think we'll be like, actually, Damien Harris now kind of maxes out as a Duke Johnson, it feels like, in that regard. And we already kind of said no to him. So I cannot call Damien Harris a hit quite yet. But I also don't want to call him a miss. I just think he's
it's one of those too early because he basically had a redshirt year with first year with the Patriots. So basically this was his rookie year. So like based on what he did down the stretch, if you look at some of his game logs, like I thought it was decent enough to consider as a potential hit, but like maybe I should have left it off. So I do agree with you there.
Just because it's like he's in the gray area, and if it's a gray area guy in like kind of like we kind of put him in the miss category.
It's almost like there's just not enough I've seen yet. Like I want to see more of him playing. Like not even good or bad. I just want to see more game film of him because I just haven't seen it. So
we'll give him a hit only because the next time we do one of these, Henry Ruggs will go down as his busts and not Alex busts. So we'll let it slide.
Yeah. So 2020, Henry Ruggs, Laviska Shenault, Zach Moss, and KJ Hamler. Laviska had a nice little rookie year too. Expecting bigger things from him next year. Zach Moss kind of disappointing to me personally, and Hamler is not really going to be very high on the list either. So
he'll be lucky if he get bounced to anything. KJ Hamler.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot there in that situation. So hits 8 out of 20 for a 40%, 3 out of 9 a receiver, 3 out of 9 or 7 for running back. So a little bit better on the running backs, but 20 picks. I mean, it's very interesting. Dustin it looks like he's had 3 picks in every single draft. So he's keeping his draft picks, and when he's trading, he's always finding ways to backfill his draft picks. So Dustin's been one of the more active drafters in this league, and he's got a bunch of picks this year too. So I'm intrigued to see what he does.
20 picks in those since 2015. A lot of these other teams we looked at, my own included, is 2021 picks since 2012. It's a lot of picks.
Eric, can you transition to who has the least picks now, or is it in a specific order?
It's not in any order whatsoever. So
throw them up, Jack.
I actually don't even know who's up next, so let's find out.
Oh, okay. You know who I want though.
It's the Lake Lure Long Gamers.
But they're good to talk about too.
Yeah, so it's funny because I counted his, from previous teams before he took over another team.
Oh, so I like that.
I thought it was important to mention, his full league history. So obviously, first year in the league, Trent Richardson. He traded his entire draft and Torrey Smith to me for Trent Richardson. So I ended up with an entire draft and Torrey Smith, and he ended up with Trent Richardson. So that clearly did not work out. Not too much to talk about there. 2013 has one of my favorite draft picks of all time. Tyler Wilson literally had no chance to ever succeed. There was
like the Christian Hackenberg before Christian Hackenberg.
I think he was worse than Christian Hackenberg because Hackenberg was on a roster for a year. He literally didn't make it out of camp, Vince. Do you remember this? It was him, Matt McGloin, and fucking some other jackass, and he couldn't beat out any of them.
He didn't make it out of camp.
He didn't.
Defend that.
He picked a second-round pick that didn't make it out of camp. That was almost James did one of those with Greg Childs. You'll see that later.
Oh, I can't wait to get there.
That's a great one. I love ones that don't make it out of camp. Those are my all-time favorite picks. So yes, so that's clearly one of my favorites. And then no picks for a few years while he was out of the league. Comes back in 2018 and has a really fucking good draft. So I will say that he comes back firing.
This is my whole favorite tile. I wish you would have showed me this before so I could have laughed before the podcast. This is an amazing, Sean's draft history is so precious. Yes, great comment by Alex Morales. Tyler Wilson is why Sean quit the league. That is absolutely.
I really think that had a lot.
That's a very astute observation. We have no proof, but at the same time.
Wait a second. That was one pick before Keenan Allen. One pick.
Oh God!
I want to.
But anyways, so we go huge. He joins the league and then knocks it out of the park. He trades Saquon Barkley, which say what you will, Saquon Barkley's had injuries, and maybe getting a haul of picks was the right move for Sean, and he hit on those picks.
I mean,
But
look
then
at
we get to 2019,
this.
and
Nothing.
it's just all misses. So let's start at 2018 with the good stuff, Eric.
So 2018, obviously, DJ Moore is great. Honestly, one of the more underrated young receivers in the league, in my opinion. DJ Moore's good. Courtney Sutton, I want to see him do it again. He did have a good first year. Hurt last year. I want to see him do it again.
Still gonna call it. I'll still call it a hit, though.
I think
would
it's a
still
hit.
Call it a hit. Yeah,
He's definitely going to be a starter. I mean, he's a
we
starter.
can't call Mike Williams a hit and not Courtland Sutton.
Absolutely not. No. So, and then Dallas Goedert, obviously a hit in the third round at tight end. He's a startable player. And then Lamar is an MVP of the league. So you can't say that's not a hit at all.
Is that the best fourth round pick? So far, yes.
So far out of the ones we talked about,
definitely
I think so.
so far.
It's got to be top 3 probably overall. I mean, I know James took Herbert. That's the only one off the top of my head. But we'll go again. That is a rock star, amazing fourth round pick in Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I think that pick is gonna be the pick that we look back at and say, wow, how did we miss on that one? And that's gonna also shade for future drafts. Be like, all right, I'm not gonna be the one that let Lamar Jackson fall this far again. Like when there's another running quarterback coming out, like the quarterbacks will kind of get bumped up because of that. I think now.
Kyler went the next year in the second round.
2.5. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I think that there's a lot of things that went into factors into that. I think Lamar Jackson kind of was dogged in the pre-draft process, and that kind of bled over into our analysis and corrupted that even. So good kudos to Sean, though, for finally being the guy to say, how the fuck did he fall this far and pulling that trigger?
Yeah, somebody had to do it.
Good job there. 2019, though.
Holy shit.
It's rough, man. And I thought N'Keal Harry was the right pick because I thought he was going to be a number 1 receiver for the Pats. It hasn't worked out. A guy like Paris Campbell, maybe could turn into a hit in the later, but as of right now is not a hit. Injuries and other things have derailed him. Andy Isabella, Sean cut like 3 months later, like into his rookie season, and he's been a colossal miss as well. And honestly, the list goes on.
I don't think Madison is bad. I just don't think he's a hit. Like I like Madison as
I was just thinking that same thing.
Like I would like to have him on my team, to be honest with you, but like he's not a hit. Like we
just can't call him a hit because he could have 5 years of being an elite handcuff but never being used, and then he's out of the league borderline.
Whereas like Jamal Williams as a handcuff, he was at least getting touches and being used pretty regularly. I don't feel like Madison is that guy.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah. Justice Hill, gigantic bust. Jalen Hurd, gigantic bust. But then again, these are 3rd and 4th round players, so you can't shit on them too much. But
the 2-7 Justice Hill, you'd like to have seen that one been a hit.
There's still busts. So 0 for fucking 7, which is no doubt the biggest.
It's absolutely
fucks up the curve.
It's one of those things you just never want to see. You just never want to see that. So then 2020, he makes a huge move. Comes up for Jonathan Taylor at 1.2 and 1.1 with Clyde Frog. So that's looking great right now. Obviously not being counted because it's 2020, but next year that'll be included. So the hit rate's going to be 4 for 13. Very low amount of picks, obviously, because he didn't have picks for 4 years there. So 4 for 13 at 30%. Has not had a running back hit. So that's an interesting note. No drafted running backs for Sean have hit except for the 2 potentially that comes up this year.
Yeah, that'll at least become 40% after this year, more than likely.
If you take away the 2019 draft, we're looking at 4 for 6. That's pretty good.
Yeah. but there's also like 2 picks. It's so crazy.
He had literally how many picks in the top 20? He had 5 picks in the top 20 in 2019. Yeah. That's rough. You got to hit on at least.
That's just not going to get it done. That's going to set back the rebuild a little bit there.
Someone say it's why he lost the championship this year. No,
it's just amazing how he drafted so well the year before. It's unbelievable. All right, we'll move on then. Let's see who we got next on the list. It's going to be the Los Angeles Lambs, the James Seafield-led Los Angeles Lambs. Let's start in 2012. Oh, this is one of my favorite drafts. David Wilson. David Wilson didn't do shit. Greg Childs. Let's talk about Greg Childs for a second.
No.
Oh my gosh, this history is amazing.
Greg Childs literally didn't even make it out of camp because he blew out both of his ACLs. I've never seen that happen before. Somebody tore both of his ACL in the same year, same training camp. Never played. Not his fault whatsoever. Hold on, we got a little 0 for 6. Oh, it must have been in reference to the last slide.
That's John. It's John's. Or
James
is running back.
James is running back.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, over 6 on the running backs. So David Wilson, Shane Vereen, there's 2 of them right there. Tyler Eifert, 1.5. That just fucking hurts to look at. I mean, picks like that are why tight ends aren't really going high anymore.
Hold on, though. Is Tyler Eifert a bust To
me, he is. He had one great year. Then he got hurt pretty much every year after that.
I know. It's tough because, he's a first-round pick with literally just one startable season. And then literally after that, he never has a top 20 finish as a tight end. Think about that. Yeah. All right. I'm wrong.
I think it's a bust.
He's definitely a bust. You can't have one startable season and then a decade of not even being relevant. I can't co-sign that.
He's got 8 years under his belt and 26 touchdowns, and half of the 26 touchdowns came in 1 year. So then we're looking at 13 touchdowns over 7 years.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry I even wasted time on the podcast.
I appreciate you trying to challenge it and see if I, because there's been a few for sure that have been close. So that's one of those ones I like to hear what everybody else has to think about.
Well, he had that one good season, but I can't.
He had like 13 touchdowns that year, didn't he? Is that what he said?
He did. That's what Justin just said. Yeah, but like, here's the thing. At that point, now he became a fantasy clog, a roster clog. He was a detriment to your team. He was fool's gold at that point on. You know what I mean? And like, when a player's like that, you can't call it a hit. But again, James pushed him on to some poor schmuck, so he wasn't too worried about it. 2014. Mike
Evans right at the top. You got to love that. Basically fell into his lap from Alex taking Sammy Watkins at 1-1. But that was the move that would you say that everybody would have taken Sammy Watkins 1-1 that year? Because he was he was a number 4 overall pick.
Absolutely.
He was great.
I don't fault him for that pick at all. If all the picks he made that were awful in that draft, that was the most forgivable.
For sure. So Mike Evans, we're getting there. We got time. Mike Evans, Jeremy fucking Hill, huge bust. Jace Amaro was Gavin Escobar 2.0. Hated him. Big bust there. Nelson Aguilar at 2015, big bust. Jeremy Langford, bust. I mean, it's not looking good here. And then we get to Josh Doxson at 1.5 in 2016, gentlemen. But luckily he made up for it though, because Michael Thomas has followed shortly after, so that covered up some of that.
I do want to say I will not call Jeremy Hill a bust. I got several reasons. Okay.
Oh my God, no.
2 top 20 seasons. Okay, 2. He was 14 as a rookie and 19 in 2016. And James won the title because of that good rookie season.
So he was an RB2 for 2 years?
Yes, but still he won the title because of the Jeremy Hill pick as a rookie. Like, I gotta say,
he was an RB2 for 3 years, and now he's useless. So I'm looking at it now. Just by yardage and touchdowns, he's got the first good rookie year, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he's got 800 yards, 11 touchdowns, and then 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. So, like, those are
that's not as bad as even I thought.
Those are 3 very serviceable years, and then after that, he was garbage, and then he's out of the league. So it's kind of to Vince's.
But it's like the Eddie Lacy and the Devonta Freemans, where it was like 3 years, you got something out of them, you shoot them out. But like, why I really can't call it a bust is only because I know for a fact James does not win the title without that Jeremy Hill pick and hitting when it does. If Jeremy Hill is a bust in year 1 and a hit in year 3, then maybe I could understand, because that changes the trajectory of James's team. But James won the title because of Jeremy Hill hitting and being a top 15 running back in his rookie year.
And I think, to put it into further context, as a 2.5, I think if he was a 1.8 or something, we wouldn't be saying that. But as a 2.5, to get that kind of production, even just for 3 years, that helps your team, you'll take that.
Yeah. All right. So I'll after hearing all that, and honestly, truthfully, I didn't even look at his stats. I kind of forgot that he existed. So, like, truthfully, that after hearing all that, that's actually a hit. We'll go with that.
It's fair, Eric, because the counterpoint is that he got drafted in 14 and he's out of the league in 18. So it's a dynasty league. So that's in that sense, it's kind of a miss. But in the context of how useful he was to James's team in that particular time, it's a hit. So that's kind of that's going to go either way, no matter what.
And I'm going to make that same argument when we get to Marlon Mack too. So be ready, because Marlon Mack's the same thing. I think he was RB 15 when James won the title, and like at 2.6, that's kind of all you can ask for is getting a warm body that can get the rock and kind of get you. Again, it's not a sexy pick. It's not a pick that I'm sitting here and saying like that's a cornerstone of a dynasty team, but it's a guy that I'll tell you right fucking now, James wishes he had Marlon Mack as an RB 15 last year. So I definitely think that those are two players that I would probably call them hits.
I'd give one of the two. I'll cut you.
We'll split the difference. One of the two. For the numbers game. We'll split the difference for the numbers game.
No, but I'm not giving you Mac. I think.
Hey, can you put me on the cam though? Can you put me on cam?
Hold on. Let's get you up here. Hold on. I don't know if I can do this. Oh, that's a big for me. I don't want that one. Here you go.
I know you're listening, James. I'm calling on both hits. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, we're moving on. But I'll give you one of the hits, James. I won't get on camera and point at you and all that, but I'll give you one of the hits. How about
James would rather you be pointing at him and give him both hits. He deserves both hits. All right, we're done.
All right, we'll move on to a rougher draft here in 2018. Sony Michel, Dante Pettis, Deshaun Hamilton, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Using the Justin method for his 4th-round pick there based on name alone. That was one I was kind of considering calling a hit. I was like borderline calling that a hit, and then I was like, "No, I can't do it."
especially because there's like kind of a lot of L's wrapped in there too, like with Pettis and Hamilton. It's like the stank rubbed off on Scantling. Yeah, and Scantling is also pretty much, I would say, his best days may even be behind him.
Yeah, it could be. So yeah, 0 for 4 on that one for me personally. 2019, I gave Noah Fant a hit, and I didn't give Irv Smith a hit, but I think there's a chance that could change this year.
We all agree he could be a hit by this time next year.
For sure. And then 2020, we're not counting it, obviously, but I think it looks good. I mean, you got Justin Herbert, obviously, at 4.10. That's awesome. That's sick. I mean, that's maybe the best Mr. Irrelevant pick ever. In our league, probably is. And then CeeDee Lamb, the trade up, and A.J. Dillon actually looked pretty good too when he got touches last year. He'll be the second running back this year, so I like that too.
We skated over
too early, but we could already give James 2 hits in 2020. It is too early, but if I wanted to call it now, I can easily give that 2 hits minimum. So that's already great. If after a year you could feel 2 hits. Sorry, Justin.
What you want to say?
No,
Justin?
I was just we skated over it because he's an obvious hit in Cooper Kupp, but that's one of the great 3rd-round picks we've seen through all this analysis tonight.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the thirds, because I feel like there's more like late end 2s that hit. So like I think we had Alvin Kamara at 2.5, and then Chris Godwin at 2.9. Like those hits I see more often, but the 3rd-round picks I feel like I don't see hit as much. And maybe that's something I do for a case study for another podcast or something. But that it seems like that's the case. And Cooper Kupp is definitely a good 3rd-round pick. So yeah, good.
I got my run of James Conner, DJ Chark, Terry, and Chase Claypool, and whoever's 3rd-round pick this year has a lot of hype.
I was just going to say your 3rd-round picks were fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
They got a lot of hype this year. Whoever's my 3rd.
And then Travis Kelce was 3.6 for me that year.
God.
Yeah, that was. And we'll get to that, but so James, if you count one of those Jeremy Hill, Marlon Max, then we're going 5 for 20 at a 25% clip. So that's pretty good. And then that kind of fixes his 0 running back hit problem there that Alex talked about. So, so I definitely agree with the Jeremy Hill one in the context that we gave it. So,
and also, these podcasts are centered a lot of, around our league, and obviously like what happened in our league with the players you got, not about really their NFL career. You know what I'm saying? So
it's all about championships. It's about both. It's all about championships.
Well, that's what I say.
That guy helped him win a championship, and he had a decent 3-year career. So like that's enough to call a hit.
Yep. 2 ships in a 5-year window for James. So, and a lot of the guys here were either the cornerstones or like trades like Michael Thomas and stuff led to eventually getting CMC.
Yeah, very true. So we'll go to the next team. I actually haven't forgot which one it is. Let's see. Oh, look at that. It's me. All right, so I have a lot of picks. We're going to try to blaze through these pretty quick because there's a lot of misses too. So, so Ruben Randall, miss. Hold on a second. 1 for 6 with Jeremy leading the pack. Okay, that's kind of funny.
I might put that on a shirt.
Dude, that seems like just a great t-shirt, Vince. That's like something I want to put on a mug. I want to put that on a fucking mug.
That's a great koozie.
Yeah.
Drink my beer out of my one.
We might have to take some Dynamite winnings for that.
People ask, which beer is that? It's 1 out of 6. Jeremy Hill leading the pack. All right, we got to please through these.
I'm going to laugh too much. We got to go. So Ruben Randall, big bust. Alshon Jeffrey kind of picked up for that one a little bit. Ronnie Hillman was a bust. Stephen Hill was a bust. Kendall Wright, I gave a hit. You could argue that one. I thought he was serviceable for a couple of years there. He also netted me a pretty good trade. I traded him for Lamar Miller and a 3rd-round pick, too, from Dan. So I thought that was worthy of a hit personally. And then Randy Bullock was a meme pick, literally the first meme pick. So, yeah, 2 for 7 on that year. Then 2 for 5 in 2013 with DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce hitting.
Still cornerstones.
Yeah, those are lifers. Still from 2013. It's crazy to think it's been that long, 8 years ago already. Marcus Wheaton, Cordero, and Gillislee, pretty obvious bust. I mean, Patterson's still in the league, but he hasn't done shit, and he's a gimmick anyway. So Cordero ended up being one of the favorite 1-for-1 trades of all time. It was Cordero Patterson for Jalen Strong, and neither of them did shit. So that was always one of my favorite trades. Then 2014 is one of my best drafts. That was Brandon Cooks, Carlos Hyde, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, and Isaiah Crowell, with the bust there being Andre Williams. I kind of debated Carlos Hyde, but he definitely had good years, serviceable years when he first was with the 49ers, and he's still kicking around. So I gave him a hit as well.
If Jeremy Hill is a hit, Carlos Hyde is certainly a hit.
Well, I was going to say,
if
Isaiah Crowell is a hit, then,
Crowell is pretty similar to Jeremy Hill, actually. Now
yeah, but he's at 3.6.
That's true. The 3.6 does help. But again, that's why we gave Jeremy Hill, and I think even Marlon Mack deserved it too. But still, I agree with this analysis for these 2014.
Yeah, so 5 for 6. And then 2015, we had a couple of hits. Darren Waller and Melvin Gordon. Waller literally was not even a tight end at that point. So I felt kind of weird giving him a hit, even though he's not on my team anymore. And then Funchess and Dorsett never amounted to shit. So those were pretty easiest miss. Then 2016 is one of my all-time favorite misses, Leonte Carew. He goes right up there in the shit Hall of Fame with Marcus Wheaton.
That is a 3rd-round Hurricanes pick if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I know. I had to snipe him from you. That's why I had to do it. I was like, if I don't take him now, Justin's for sure going to take him. Yeah, he didn't do shit. I believed in him. And then 2017, no hits whatsoever. I actually counted Evan Ingram as a miss because I just don't think he ever lived up to the hype in my head. So I gave him a miss.
Well, I would have given him a hit though. So I respect your honesty. Too.
Okay, well, I felt like being generous maybe on this one. So I don't know. I just didn't feel.
You don't want to give yourself perfect tight end scores, but no, I believe you earned it.
I think. It's just that he hasn't done shit in like the last 2 years. That's just clouded my brain. It's just like I don't think he's done anything relevant, and he has not been a starter. So 0 for 3 for me, but I understand why you might think otherwise. And then for 2018, that was the Saquon Barkley draft. I really invested a lot of resources into this one. It was Barkley, Kerryon Johnson, Gesicki, and that horrific George Kittle trade at 2.5. Traquan Smith busted a little bit there. Josh Rosen busted, but I traded him to Alex because he's Alex. And then Josh Adams at 4.8 was worthless. So a couple hits in there with the Gesicki and Barkley. And then 2019, rough year for me there. Preston Williams, I call a hit, so that could be the makeup call for my my Evan Ingram one.
There you go.
So that's the makeup call, and because there's no other hits in this draft, and Williams it's kind of too early to tell on him too. So we'll call that one a wash with him and Ingram. And then 2020 is too early with Ayuk being the clear best one from that draft. And Tua is still kind of, we'll want to see what Tua does next year. So had 36 picks. That's the most we've seen so far out of all the leagues, or out of all the ones we covered so far. Hit 14 of them. Look at my running back hits. It's not good. 4 out of 14. I mean, that's just not going to do it. Wide receiver has been much better, and tight end has been much better. So there's a clear trend in what I'm good at picking and what I'm not good at picking. So interesting to see a team with that many picks as opposed to what we've seen so far, especially coming from Sean's, who had like, what was it, 13 or some shit? 12?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you're a draft man, Eric.
I love the draft. It's one of my things. I can't believe I had to draft with one pick, by the way. That pisses me off. I don't like looking at it. It's like Justin said the same thing earlier. He feels has the fear of missing out. I love drafting.
I just want to be at the draft.
I just want to be drafting. All right, let's move on. So the Philadelphia lamppost. This has been an interesting topic of discussion recently because of his recent drafts. Not a whole lot of picks, though. He's been in the league since the inception of the league. I want to say, hold on. So it's been 2012 to 2019. So he got 7 years worth of picks, and he's had 13 total picks in 7 years. So that's not that many. So Mohamed Sanu, I gave him a hit because I agree. I thought he had a pretty decent little career there, and obviously recency bias would be like, oh, he sucks, but
no, recency bias is he was only not a startable player until like a few years ago. Kind of like he was always in the mix of like serviceable flex players. I would say for at least 8 years, that's a hit.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought for sure, like he was always like a quality flex player in our league. Like he's a hit for me. So
I think that because it's 210, it's a hit because he has been a serviceable flex player for a bulk of his career for so long. I think if that's a higher pick, it's a miss.
Yeah, I think if that's like 1.8, you're like, I don't know about this, because then he kind of gets into that like Sterling Shepard range. It's like I don't know about this, could be a little close, but he's still relevant. One of those things. Then we go to 2013, hit Zach Ertz very hard in the second round. Good pick there. Stedman Bailey, a great name. That's a Justin pick right there if I've ever seen one. And then 3.8 with Geno Smith. Obviously, we know how that ended up, but that's just a dart throw. Kadeem Carey, one of my favorite busts of all time, guys. Love Kadeem Carey as a bust in 2014. TJ Yeldon, another classic bust at 1.9. That one kind of hurt.
That does. Yeah.
I did believe in TJ Yeldon, actually, so that one kind of hurt me a little bit. So 3 straight years of busts for Dan. So this is 2014, 2015, and 2016, absolutely nothing of any value, and then comes out firing in 2017. Just got it's like he got pissed off. Like somebody just made him mad. He's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna start drafting good, and this is when it starts. So Dalvin Cook at 1.3, kind of a no-brainer. Everybody liked Dalvin Cook, I think, but still, he's been phenomenal. And then Deshaun Watson at 3.5, arguably one of the best third-round picks. And now that we've talked about third-round picks quite a bit, there's more good third-round picks than I've been giving them credit for. Deshaun's been awesome. 2 out of 2 for that draft, and then comes back again with just a 4th-round pick in 2018 and drills Josh Allen. Literally rebuilds an entire quarterback room in 2 years with Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen. Obviously, phenomenal work. And then comes back in 2019, gets ridiculous value on DK Metcalf at 1.7. He's a top 5 dynasty wide receiver probably at this point. I mean, people love him. He's an asset. Love to see that. Darwin Thompson, Bryce Love, bust, but third and 4th round picks, no big deal.
I like both of those picks. I mean, they are obviously.
I love Bryce Love.
I wanted both of those guys.
Yeah, I was hoping to get Bryce Love in the waiver draft afterwards. He didn't really work out though, and Darwin Thompson at the time looked like he might have been the starter, so you can't argue at all.
Great dart throws in your late 3rd and late 4th. That's all you want is guys that you can at least have a shot to get carries, and they both at least had a chance at one point. So they're busts. They're absolute misses, but they're at least misses where it's like, damn, I knew what he was going for.
Yeah, they made sense at the time. And a lot of times, like that's the one thing we kind of have to clarify is like, so a lot of these picks made sense at the time and they just don't make sense now. So it's easy to go back in hindsight and just like, it's like, oh, Kadeem Carey at 3.7 probably seemed like a good pick at the time. There was a chance that he was going to be like the takeover back for after Forte, and he's like, this might be good. And then just nothing. So, I mean, it is what it is. But 2020, what a draft. I mean, it's too early to count it in the rankings, but this is definitely going to boost his numbers for future years. I mean, Dobbins looks great so far at 1.6. Justin Jefferson, phenomenal at 2.1. Antonio Gibson, excellent at 4. Might be one of the better 4th-round picks we've ever had so far. And then
the best running back 4th-round pick, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
We've never had a 4th round pick in the running as a running back with Antonio Gibson. I mean, I guess James Robinson.
I'm not really counting.
He's practice squad. He's practice squad.
He's a practice squad draft. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he
so
was
he doesn't count.
One of the last picks in the practice squad draft, so that doesn't even really count. And then Cole Kmet actually turned it on pretty nicely at the end of last year as a rookie. So, and rookie production at tight end is hard to come by. So, all 4 of those picks.
A lot of great late round value in the past couple of years. Deshaun at 3.5, Josh Allen at 4.5, Gibson at 4.1, Cole Kmet at 4.6.
Maybe he should stockpile late round picks. Maybe that's the move.
Just skip the first round altogether.
He doesn't need them. Yeah, I mean, look at Corey Coleman, TJ Yeldon, some rough first round picks there. So maybe that's the move for Dan, to start acquiring some more later picks. So his hit rate 6 out of 13, 46%. That's going to be at the top of the league. Not a whole lot of picks though, so that's something to keep in mind when we look at those later. But great numbers there at the quarterback position. 2 out of 3 are literally top 5 prospects in quarterbacks in our league. So that's pretty sick. So let's go ahead and move on. And here's where the fun starts. So look, I mean, this took me 2 years to type up. And this is where we're at.
Do we even read like all this? I mean, this is a paragraph of just throwing it at people just to come out with 2 out of 9, 3 out of 8. Like, let's just name the hits. I feel like, Eric, do you maybe just want to name the hits here?
But some of the busts are so funny, so maybe let's just scan and see kind of like what's going on.
Hit the highlights of 2014. Give the people what they want.
All right. Well, let's start with
no hits in the first 2 years. Right to 2014.
Let's start with 12 just for the fun. Let's just say I like Donald Brown. I was a fan of Donald Brown. He just didn't do shit. But they're all busts. Brian Cook was trash. Monty Ball, Zach Stacy, Joseph Randall, Terrence Williams. The only cool thing we got out of that was the Zach Stacy auction of 2014. So I'll just go ahead and skip over that.
That's
and then
amazing,
here's 2014. This is really where, I mean, he had 9 picks and hit 2.
4 firsts.
4 firsts, all in the top 6, and absolutely none of them hit. The Watkins one, well, I'll throw him a bone on the Watkins one, but the other 3 were just mistakes, just bad picks. I was like kind of like thinking about the 2 hits in this class. Like, who are the 2 hits in this class? Because like Martavis Bryant had like some moments. Like,
well, it's definitely Jarvis. That's not a question.
Yeah, Jarvis is the hit, and I gave like a joint hit for like Sammy Watkins and Martavis Bryant because they're both like, Sammy's still playing. He's still functioning. And then Martavis like had a couple good years of like hope, and then nothing.
Colvin had 1 season.
Martavis had some flashes of brilliance in his first 2 years where he, had a handful of long touchdowns with that speed where people said, hey, Martavis Bryant might be the future. And then he obviously was not.
Yeah, there was flashes. That's the best word I'll put. So like it's not a hit, but I think I gave them a hit kind of just because of the Sammy Watkins. Like, I didn't know what to do about Sammy because it was such a bust. Like, I mean,
but we all would have done it. So
that's
it's also
thing.
like.
So I gave him the 2 out of 9. That could be 1 out of 9 based on how you look at it. So let's go to 2015. 3 hits here. The hits being Todd Gurley, David Johnson, and I gave him Mike Davis as a hit. I think that's a 3rd round pick that, he's definitely been functioning in recent years. Obviously with as CMC's backup this past year, and then now he got a contract where he may be the starter again. So I gave him a hit.
I agree.
Make that what you will, but I just want to point out 1 in this class because actually 2 because they're just such big busts. David Cobb and Max Williams. I just love those busts. Geez. Max with 2 X's at 1.6 is a pretty colossal bust.
Max with 2 X's immediately puts him in 3rd round territory for me.
Yeah, I mean that's a Justin target right there. I got to start looking at this next draft class, by the way, just to look at it ahead of time, just to make sure, because I got to make sure I snipe some guys before Justin can pick them up in the 3rd if they got cool names. So I got to start thinking about that. So 2016, another couple of rough first round picks. I mean, Jordan Howard and Paul Perkins, neither one of them really amounted to shit. Howard had some moments, but I don't want to call that pick a hit by any means. Rashard Higgins, Will Fuller, Braxton Miller, Jonathan Williams, Jared Goff. I think I gave the hits to Jared Goff, Will Fuller, and Kenyon Drake.
Right. Well, I'll switch them around. I would give them hits for Jordan Howard, Kenyon Drake, and maybe Will Fuller, and maybe not give one for Goff. You can maybe not give one for Drake, but like I got to give Jordan Howard a hit just because I know same argument for James. I know that he won a title that like right after that 2 years later. And Jordan Howard was still like a top 20 running back, I want to say then. So I think that that at least boosts his rate, but also like I said,
the James pick? That's the corollary.
Jeremy Hill.
And but Jeremy Hill.
I got you, Alex. I got you, fam. Alex says Howard's a bust. That's horseshit. That's why I said I got you, Alex.
What was Jeremy Hill drafted at?
That's the fundamental difference.
Alex, I thought Jeremy Hill was
that's why I
1-3.
view it as a bust at 1-3.
The production for 1-3 is garbage.
I still got it. I think he led the league in rushing one year.
He did not.
What was do we have any intel on his finishes for dynasty purposes?
I can do that for you. Yeah,
because this is the one we're gonna debate here.
This is Alex's. This is your time, Alex.
This is his shot.
His first 3 years are good years. 1,300, 1,100, 900 yards, 699 touchdowns.
He was a top 10 running back twice. No, he's a hit.
Okay, then he's a hit. If we gave Jeremy Hill a hit, then we got to give this a hit.
Sure.
Yeah, he was a top 10 running back twice. Again, this tells the overall story of Alex's team. I think when you look at these hits, there's a reason why his team bottoms out and we're in this long rebuild, because 2018, which is, I know you were going here next, 2018 and 2019 were abstract colossal failures.
Yeah,
literally,
even a good pick, 2 good picks with a Todd Gurley, with a Kenyon Drake, with a Jordan Howard, a Will Fuller, it kind of didn't matter because of the 2 years after it.
Hold on a second. Alex, were you just playing the long game 40 minutes ago when you said they have to be top 10 consistently to be a hit, just so you could say Jordan Howard was a hit?
It
otherwise, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Don't give him that much credit.
It fits the brand for sure. Jordan Howard, after hearing some of the stats, I'll change my mind on that one. That's totally fair. I literally did no research on that one at all. So I just saw 1.3 in Jordan Howard and had some recency bias when he's been kind of trash. So I was like, fuck him. So that was my thought process on that.
No, I don't blame you, because now he's not usable, and I would argue 1.3 was not good value at all. But it's only, again, because he won a title with him, and he was a serviceable
and he had
player.
good years. He had good years.
2 top 10s, and there was a title won. So I'll give Alex, definitely got to have his back on that. But that's also because I'm about to stab him in the back literally 4 times in 2018, 5 times in 2019. And I honestly don't have that much good things to say about 2020 outside of the first, 3 of the first 4 picks. I mean, I'm a Mims guy, so I'll even give him Mims I like. But
Mims and Higgins look good.
So many picks in 2020. And I would argue Jerry Jeudy is not worth what Alex drafted him at. Not that was a great pick for value, but Jerry Jeudy is already looking like a slump in value. Swift is fine, and then Mims and Higgins both are fine too. I love Higgins as long as they don't draft Chase like idiots. He'll be great. But the picks after it, with the bad 2018 and 2019, Alex has to hit him out of the park in 2021 if he's going to be able to really fill out a competent roster going forward.
And I just want to quickly go back to 2017 because we kind of blew past that. He did have Fournette and Kareem Hunt, both of those quality picks. Those are both hits. So anyway, go back to 2020 now.
No, you're absolutely right. That 2017, that was the year that it was like, all right, it's it. I got Fournette. Kareem Hunt was a hit. He pushed all in. He got a title, lightning in a bottle title, but still a title nonetheless, just as good as anyone else's. And, he deserved it. That's why I feel like Jordan Howard earned it, but you can see why Alex blew it up. I mean, you want to talk about the tail of a team when you have misses like that in 2018, you have misses like that in 2019, and the players in 2015, 16, and 17 that made up the crux of his championship roster, all of kind of now were over the hill. And Todd Gurley, Jordan Howard, Leonard Fournette even was kind of losing his luster in Jacksonville, and he got out at the right time. So, kudos to him for getting out on those players and realizing the arc of his team. But that doesn't make up for 2018 and 19 being disasters.
This is 17 of these 44 picks are first round picks, and I'm interested to look at how many of 17 are hits.
That's unbelievable. That is a stat that I did not do any of the research for. I mean, we could kind of count it down. I mean, if you guys want to just run through it. I mean, we got a bust at Robert Gifford. We got a bust at Monty Ball. We got Sammy Watkins.
The gray hit.
It was the hit. Benjamin Matthews, Moncrief, all busts. So at this point, how many we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, just count the hits. Watkins is the only hit so far. Gurley's a hit next. We gave Jordan Howard a hit. That's 3. Fournette's a hit. That's 4.
4.
That's it.
So
4.
But granted, 4 of those are from 2022 early tell. So really 4.
They're all 1-1 though. The only
they're
ones
all
he
very
hit
high.
were
That's the
1-1.
thing. Look at 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-6, 1-1, 1-5. It's tough. It's tough. It's been a rough sled for the
Now
kid.
we know why he only wants 1-1 now. He's afraid to get anything else. I see why.
I mean, I'm intrigued to see. Maybe he changes his drafting ways this year. He's got a lot of picks again, as we all know, and if we gave him that extra hit for Jordan Howard, he's batting 11 for 44 after 25%. So not good for how many picks he's had, but it's also hard to hit when you have that many picks too, because there's just so many fucking busts.
As a counterpoint, it's at that ratio, when that number, the proportion of the 44 picks that are first round picks to not have that high of a hit rate is not great.
I mean, he's had 1-1 3 times. 4 if you include he's traded it this past year, and he's going to have it again this year. I've never had 1-1, boys. I've never had it in a trade. No. I've never owned it. But I've never in any which way owned 1-1. And like to Justin's point, like 3 of these picks were 1-1. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, were all 3 of his 1-1s hits technically though? Yeah,
and those are the 3 of the 4 hits of all the first round picks.
So the 1-1. So the gimmies basically, if you will. Over 3 on tight ends for the record. Just wanted to point that. But look at the wide receiver numbers. 15%, gentlemen. 3 for 19. That's 4 for 19 with Sammy, but that's not good. You'd like to see him hit a couple more.
I will say I appreciate that Alex went to the Justin Senior school of name brand drafting.
Yeah, he definitely took the Darius Fountain, the Auden Tates, if you will, the Antonio Gandy Goldens, if you will.
You just love to see it.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. He's learning something from one of the best.
When I say Braxton Miller's name in my head, I put 2 X's so it sounds cooler, and I can add him to the club.
You'll Max Crosby special. All right, next we got the chili cheese fries. Not a ton of draft picks. He's been prone to trade them away recently. So a lot more in the early goings, and they weren't good. So we got sorry to be so harsh, but there's some rough goes. So you got Kobe Fleener right out the gate at 1-5. That it was the first year. Nobody knew what the hell we were doing the first year, so none of those were hits. 2013, I believe the hit was Robert Woods at 2-6, and that's obviously a great pick. That was the year that we were all fooled by Tennessee receivers, Derrick Rogers, Justin Hunter, Cordero Patterson.
Rogers, what I would have given.
Tyler Bray was on that team. Michael Rivera was on that Tennessee team. It was all bust. There's nothing but bust. So
I don't want to waste a lot of time, but wasn't this the last year of NCAA, and that's why like that Tennessee team was a hot pick for all of us because it was like a team that had middle of the pack ratings, but we knew that their players in skill positions were retarded, so it'd be like a great pocket pick if you ever needed them.
Oh, it was so good. Yeah, I love that. I loved everybody on that team. I think they had a 4th receiver. I honestly forgot his name, but I loved the 4th receiver. I was like, fucking, this guy's great. And they all busted. Every single one of them busted. And the one that hurts my soul the most out of all those is Marcus Lattimore. I mean, we just love the kid. And that was one of the few years, I think he had 2 years for the Pick'em picks at 211, which is a weird one. When we had the Pick'em back in the day.
Tim says he's the only one who ever had him because he remembered devoting.
Because he remembered, he had the time. And then 2014, he finally got a nice hit right there at the top at 1-7. There's just absolutely no reason he should have been there, given all the other players that went ahead of him, such as
Alex picked 4 times before Odell Beckham.
Yes, he did. It was Jordan Matthews and Kelvin Benjamin and all that shit before we even got to Odell Beckham. So that's rough. And then the other hit I gave him was Ebron for that one, because he's been pretty quality.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'll allow that. He's still even in the league today.
Closely followed by a fucking uber bust Lake Seastrunk. Just tremendous bust. That's a
reach
Justin.
too.
God, that's a Justin player though for later rounds for sure. Just name alone. 2015, Amari Cooper at the top, very nice. Dorial Green Beckham. Actually, there's a mega bust for you. And then Jalen Strong in 2015 as well, not a hit. So 1 for 3 there. Then 2016, 0 for 2. Neither one of those guys hit, both second round picks. 2017, great draft. Christian McCaffrey there at the 1-2 and Joe Mixon at 1-6, both excellent running backs in Dynasty. Probably one of the better first round drafts we've seen. And then he's basically traded away all of his picks in the last 3 years, except for his fourths. So you got Jamon Moore, bust. Dawson Knox, I called a bust, but I kind of like him still. And then 2019, absolutely nothing. So
Dawson Knox is on your team, is he not, Eric?
Yeah, he picked him up, or he dropped him, and then I think Vince had him for a while.
I've had him for a bit, yeah.
And then I picked him up just because I think he's got something. I
would
don't
say
know
it's
if he's
too soon to tell on Dawson Knox, especially at 4'10".
But he's still a miss until then, kind of like the Dalton.
No, he's for
Schultz
sure. He's
argument.
for sure a miss. And then that should be 2020, not 2019. And then those guys are too early. So his hit rate is not very good at 22%. That's the same as Alex Morales, I believe.
I do want to bump him up an extra 10 flat percentage. Just he gets like a curve, extra credit because he took Mahomes in the waiver wire draft. So that alone, just gives you like a 10-point upgrade. Now again, we're going from a 22 to a 32. It's still an F, but like that alone is the pick of all. I don't care which picks we're talking about. That's the best pick.
It won't get better. It means the number 1 overall player. It's like in any
in a fucking supplemental draft. Like that's the best. Shut up! You were here. You let it happen. Don't make it seem like how did we let this happen? You were here.
But the thing is, even he sucked because he passed on him 4 times.
That's
like
true.
that's the thing. We all
Tom Brady argument.
We all fucking blow.
Fair.
So yeah, no hits at quarterback in the actual draft, but yeah, definitely picked up the pace elsewhere. It's 22%. So here's the overall hit ranking. Some of these have to be adjusted. And I think Vince, you put them in the chat.
Yeah, I did.
So let's take a look at the chat. So we got Justin at 50%. That is the highest. So Justin definitely has the most draft success looking back. And then Scavelli was at 47% instead of the 38 that we had him at. So 47% bumps him up to second place. So that's a huge bump. And then we had James at 25% instead of his 21%. So James leapfrogs both the Silly Nannies and the Cheese Fries for 8th place. So that's the big changes. But you can kind of see some people with some lesser picks, like the Lamppost at 14 picks total. Not a ton of options there. Not a ton of picks overall, but that isn't super relevant to this argument. I mean, it looks like, would you guys say that the better drafting teams end up being the better teams in the league? Does it look like it matches the standings pretty well?
No, I really don't think it does. I would say that there are some things that are indicative of the standings, like Alex being consistently one of the bottom teams in the league with only 3 years, I think, of him making the playoffs out of the 10 or 11 we've been doing this. So him being at 9 doesn't shock me. And honestly, even James would tell you that his own fun fact about his team is that the only year he's ever won a playoff game were the years that he won titles. So I would say him drafting at 10, or him being considered one of the bottom drafters, doesn't really shock me either in that regard. If you have only won playoff games in the year you've won titles, however, he does at least still have 2 titles.
Yeah, I mean, I
will also say, there because there's no analysis on what the hit rates are per round. Like I might have a 50% hit rate, but if my first and second round picks don't hit as much as my third and fourth round picks, just for the sake of argument, that's not as impressive as it's not as useful to my team as someone who has a higher hit rate in the first round that gets players that can impact the team immediately, right?
We also pointed out you've always picked in the top 5 with your original draft slot. So it also helps where your percentages too.
Sure. No, I meant that's a different argument. It's an accurate argument, but it's a different argument. I'm saying that, don't even use my team as an example, just any team in general. If you don't hit on your first and second round picks really, and you hit on your third round picks, like we called Mike Davis a hit, that counts as a hit towards a percentage. But he's not someone who's immediately coming in and impacting a team and having the same impact as a Christian McCaffrey, obviously. So, a first round hit versus every hit has a different impact on the team.
Well, every hit counts equally in our percentage model. And that's why it's not really indicative of anything scientific, because
that's what I'm saying.
To your own point about third round picks in a bubble, Terry McLaurin and versus a Mike Davis as a third round hit are very different types of hits.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? even first round hits are different types of hits that I think can even tell the story of a season very differently. There's some first round picks that were kind of fly by night, one contract guys. And then we looked at Eric, who had a 2013 draft that consisted of Hopkins and Kelsey. I'm sure some of us would trade every third round pick we've ever made for Kelsey. There's like some of us that have such, our third round picks might have not been so desirable that you'd rather trade them all for the opportunity to have Kelsey, who's still pumping out tight end one season. So I just think that argument is not all hits are created equal is really, I think, what this boils down to.
Yeah.
For sure. So, thank you guys again for doing this podcast. This was a complete last minute change of pace here. And we also had to do a ton of research for this one. So thank you guys for doing a little bit there towards the end to help out there. We have a good week ahead of us here. We got a phenomenal week of football. We're going to do the Tatooine Raiders team review within the next couple of days here. And then we're going to have the actual draft, the real NFL draft start on Thursday. Then we got Friday draft, and we got Saturday draft, and then we got an off day on Sunday, let you guys cool down, and then it's the rookie draft next Monday. And it is going to be a banger. I'm expecting it to be one of the most fun ones we've ever had. My base plan kind of lined it up in Discord, but it's going to be a live stream, kind of like what we're doing now. I'm going to have live interviews, draft pick interviews. After you make your pick, we're going to bring you on. You're going to talk about it. We're going to have analysis. We're going to have up to the minute trade rumors. Everything is going to be all through the live stream. So it's going to be like it's draft telecast is what I'm hoping it ends up being like. So I want it to be as close to the ESPN NFL draft as we could possibly get. So I would like to see everybody on the StreamYard, but on the backside, when it's not your turn to talk or like you're not doing any sort of instant analysis, you could be over in the Discord chat too if you want to do that while the live stream is going on. So there's two different options for you if you want to just watch along or be part of the conversation with everybody else in Discord. So I'll leave that up to you, but I'm going to be doing the live stream. It's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are just as excited. I know Justin is. He's got 2-2 and 2-3. He's ready to go.
1-2 and 1-3. I'm happy. I'm happy about it.
You should be. There's two quality players there. And then we got another folk here, the Swallows with 1-4 and 1-6. That's going to be exciting too. We have no idea what Alex is going to do with those two picks in between. So
Justin and I are 40% of the first round. Honestly,
right here
the first round is only me, Justin, Alex, Dustin, and Dan.
But that's okay.
It.
That's okay though. I like that. And there's trades. Round. There's always a trade possibility, back end of the first round, middle of the first round. Who knows? It could be anything. So we're going to have all that for you next Monday on the live stream. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited for it. So thanks, guys, for doing this. And we'll catch you next time, which will probably be Monday or Tuesday this week. So tune into that and see y'all later.